Joining me now to dig deeper into the state of this race is GOP strategist Anna Mancuso and also Democratic strategist Crystal Knight. Thank you both for being back here. Anna, DeSantis out. He backs Trump. I'm going to ask you because I'm hearing wild card from Joe St. George. But what do you think? Does his departure help Haley or Trump?
It helps Trump. After he left the race, he immediately endorsed Donald Trump. And we know that for a lot of people in terms of the DeSantis camp, their next best choice for them was Donald Trump. And so we will see a lot of them head over to Donald Trump in New Hampshire primary tomorrow.
All right. And Crystal, I mean, picking up on what Joe just kind of walked us through, which it's convoluted. He did a great job of keeping it pretty simple for us. But Biden, you know, he has more active primary opponents now in New Hampshire, and he's not on the ballot. There's been a big emphasis within his campaign, on democracy and the importance of the democratic process to potentially the Democratic voters who are in the state going, we feel skipped or we're not feeling heard right now. And now there's this campaign to write in his name. What do you make of that?
Well, I think it's a grassroots, activation that Biden supporters in the state of New Hampshire are taking place in. I think, most of the supporters already know that the DNC has changed the rules and that South Carolina is first. So they should not feel left out because this information has been communicated and relayed not only at the national level, but across the state level. I do think that it is interesting that his supporters are deciding to write him in. But as far as the other candidates like Marianne Williamson, maybe even JFK, those are really non-contestants when we talk about the Democratic primary, because we know that President Biden is the only candidate and that there won't be really any challenges foreseeable of major party contenders. And so I think that, if I were a New Hampshire voter thinking about the Democratic primary, I would say, President Biden and the DNC has made their decision and wait your turn.
So sticking with you for a second, Crystal, Biden today and really his campaign in general through this week, focusing on abortion, really centering that issue. We're going to be hearing from the vice president later today and remarks on abortion. Will doubling down on this issue be enough to motivate voters?
Well, I think so. I mean, we've seen this issue come up throughout the 2022 midterm elections. We saw it on the ballot in Ohio. And so state after state in the last couple of years, voters are turning out and saying, we want access to choice. And what Roe versus Wade, or what the Dobbs decision did, it eliminated choice. And so I think it's smart on the vice president to go out on a campaign about abortion care. I think it's smart on the part of the president to continue talking about this, because this is an issue that national polling, over 70% of Americans identify with choice. And so this is something that is resonating deeply with the American public. And so for the campaign and the president to not talk about this on the trail would be a fallacy. And so I think it's actually wise and smart of the campaign. Also, it's the 51st anniversary, or would be anniversary, of Roe versus Wade if it wasn't for the Dobbs decision.
Yeah, Mariana, you said it earlier, DeSantis endorsing Trump doesn't help Haley. But Haley, I mean, she's been pouring a lot of effort into New Hampshire. Regardless of where her outcome stands, do you think that she's going to continue and push through New Hampshire and focus on South Carolina, her home state?
Sources tell me that she will continue on to South Carolina. They also say they're not really sure what happens should she lose South Carolina. And right now, my magic 8-ball is saying the outlook is not very good for Nikki Haley to win South Carolina. But look, in New Hampshire, she's doing everything she possibly can. And the best outcome that she could hope for is a really good night against Donald Trump. But again, that's not looking too good according to the polls.
And let me ask you, Mariana, because Axios, they described it as New Hampshire is like an audition for Trump's VP pick, potentially. You've got this short list that's kind of been circulating out here with Senators J.D. Vance, Tim Scott, who's picked up some headlines over this weekend, as well as Representative Elise Stefanik. So how much weight are you putting on this speculation at this point? What do you make of this whole storyline?
In terms of the VP pick, it might be a little early to name a vice president, but let's be honest, we have watched all sorts of Republicans literally get on the primary debate stage and audition for that slot of vice president. So it doesn't surprise me to see Stefanik, J.D. Vance, and Tim Scott in the Granite State, basically out there campaigning for Donald Trump.
Crystal, South Carolina's primary is coming up in early February, and back in 2020, black voters in the state resuscitated, if I can use that term, Biden's campaign big time at that point. Today, he's pulling way behind with black voters by double digits. How does the Biden campaign mend this?
Yeah, that's such a great question. I think, you're absolutely right to categorize it as a resuscitation. We have to look at, what happened with party leaders in the state. Jamie Harrison, who is the DNC chairman, those are folks who helped revive the Biden campaign. But I think as it relates to South Carolina voters, the president and his team, they have to talk about issues that are salient to the state. They have to talk about infrastructure and the building of roads and transportation in a rural state like South Carolina that has been helpful. They have to talk about job creation in the state. They have to talk about abortion care, because I think, again, this is a salient topic that many people will care about. But when you begin to normalize or to localize issues at the respective state level, that is when voters begin to really understand how the administration has pumped money into the economy via the infrastructure bill. If they can tie legislation to jobs created, if they can tie legislation to small business growth in the state, those are key tangible ways that I believe that the campaign can really zero in on the voters that they're missing across the state.
Mariana, we just heard Crystal walk through what she thinks the Biden campaign really has to hone in on as far as messaging. And a big thing is if they can do it, right? That's been the plague for the Democratic Party, on being able to translate its successes in its view. So for Trump, and Mariana, you mentioned this is going to be potentially Trump-Biden matchup. How does the Trump campaign respond to that? How does it inject, I guess, opportunities to push Biden down?
Look, Trump has done nothing but push Joe Biden down, and he's diminished any type of successes that he has had over the past 4 years. And Donald Trump has continued to elicit responses by his base and turn people out. And it's going to be interesting to see as we head through the primary, New Hampshire, South Carolina, Super Tuesday, what this looks like. But at the end of the day, Donald Trump isn't giving a second thought to President Joe Biden.
Republican strategist Anna Mancuso and Democratic strategist Crystal Knight, thank you both for your time. Good to see you.
Thank you. Absolutely.
Coming up.